First, our special force is the Norwegian Jägers.
Norway's Jäger, or hunter, operates deep behind enemy lines. He is one of the finest trained soldiers in the world. These young soldiers are Norway's elite special forces. They're called Jägers, which in English literally translates to the hunters. As part of NATO, the principal role of these commandos is reconnaissance and sabotage behind enemy lines. A Jäger can expect to spend weeks at a time on his own, or with a small team operating in a dangerous environment miles from home. Few individuals combine the intelligence, stamina, self-confidence and resourcefulness necessary for such work.
We try to find persons who have a very high degree of self-confidence, who are physically and psychologically fit for this kind of service, and at the same time they must be able to cooperate with others. It's a sort of paradox, so to say, that they shall be very independent and at the same time they shall be able to work in a group with other people. But I'm sure you understand what I mean when I say that we are looking for persons with a great capacity when it comes to mental stableness and people I can rely upon, because they are supposed to get out on very different types of missions, and I must really trust in them if they operate in very small groups or alone and together with others as well.
I think that the Jägers are unique in the way that they reflect a typical Norwegian, that the Norwegian is an outdoor man, and these Jägers, they like being outdoors, and they've chosen a service, military service, when they stay outdoors most of the time.
Much of Norway's modern defense policy stems from the lessons learned during the German invasion in 1940 and the subsequent 5 years of occupation. During the invasion, Norway had a neutral anti-militarist defense policy. The roots of the Jägers can be traced back to the resistance fighters of World War II. Their story is told here at the Resistance Museum in Oslo.
It's important to note that the museum was started by the people of the resistance. And they had one aim in mind, and that was to tell Norwegian people what it was to lose one's freedom, to be occupied, and what it cost to regain that freedom. And the last two words you'll find in this museum when you leave it is never again. That is the message. Never again to put Norway in a position to be occupied.
The modern Norwegian army consists of 13,500 career soldiers, inflated to 29,000 men with each year's intake of conscripts. The best 400 soldiers are recruited to join the Jägers. These soldiers then go through a grueling selection process in which the attrition rate is over 90%.
The way it is done, we have different tests that measures their physical and psychological capacities. And we also cooperate and have great support from military psychiatrists to find the right persons.
Upon selection, the Jägers take up a rigorous training schedule which begins with the demanding obstacle course. As the weeks pass, the training intensifies with brutal hand-to-hand combat, where the aggressiveness of each man is examined.
The goals are the same as like in the Second World War, where they're going to try and teach a lot of people how to defend themselves or react in certain situations in the shortest amount of time. But when everything else fails, they've got to do the job, whatever it takes to get done. We train special forces like reactionary forces. They've got two extremes. They have somebody they've got to put away and the people they've got to save, right? They've got to be able to handle both situations. So we don't say, you do this in this situation, you do this in this situation, you use this tool. We give them a set of tools, and they, in that situation, they've got to choose the tool to do the job in that time.
The soldiers who become Jägers have a great amount of self-confidence, a belief that they can solve any problem and the ability to push themselves beyond their natural limits. In this drill, two teams are pitted against each other, with the object being to push or pull a large mat to the opponent's wall. The recruits can use any means at their disposal to complete this task. Instructors look for ingenuity, cunning and aggression in the recruits, characteristics that are important to the Jägers.
It's a test for not only your comrades, but a test of yourself. Because a lot of the guys have no prior experience to unarmed combat. And then milling they are forced of themselves and will to produce a lot of adrenaline and use physical power and violence against somebody they know. And they've got to do it for a certain amount of time, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, like some of these guys do. And they've got to give maximum effort, and it's got to come from here. Maximum effort. And the only rules are that they're not allowed to use the elbow, not allowed to use the knee, not allowed to bite or spit or headbutt. So there's no rules. And as you saw from when we did earlier, that it's, for some of them, it's a horrifying experience the first time round. But it's so that they can know themselves. You've got adrenaline pumping, you're getting hit, you're in a strange situation because they don't do this every day, right? So it's like a little test, if you will, a test of yourself, a test of your own will, right? And a test open for your comrades.
The young men must also have the ability to remain calm under stressful conditions. All recruits must pass a difficult marksmanship test before they can be selected as a Jäger. Using a marching and firing technique, the soldiers are judged on shooting accuracy in both sidearms and automatic rifles. In addition, the Jägers undergo a simulated retreat exercise where both speed and accuracy are tested. This Jäger, who wishes to remain anonymous for security purposes, describes the kind of man the Jägers are looking for.
Definitely not John D. Rambo. We're looking for intelligent guys who can use their head, who are able to improvise, who have the stamina to go on when the body says stop. People that are in relatively good physical shape when they come here, and that are willing to do something special.
Because of the variety of operations Jägers perform, they're trained in the use of many types of unique equipment. To avoid detection while swimming toward a target, Jägers use the closed-circuit underwater breathing apparatus that recycles air and leaves no bubbles.
You can use this oxygen system for about, well, between 2 and 3 hours. It depends on how fast you're swimming, if it's cold, how much equipment you're carrying with you.
The kayak is another tool used in coastal operations. This small craft is deployed at night so that Jägers can quietly sneak into enemy territory. It's light, durable in rough seas, and able to carry over 2,000 pounds. A piece of equipment dear to all Jägers is the traditional Laplander knife. Its razor-sharp edge is always an asset in the outdoors. Because they often operate behind enemy lines without support and under extreme conditions, all Jägers undergo extensive survival training in which they learn to live off the land.
One of the things you might be looking for when you're going to build a survival shelter is a fallen tree like the one we have here. You support the tree and then you build it up with branches on the sides and on the top. When that is done, you make a small fire in front of it with a reflector and stones at the bottom. After approximately 1.5 hours, the rocks are hot enough to boil water. And then you can also use it to heat your body. You take the stones, put them under your armpits, underneath your knees, on your stomach, and by doing that you keep the body temperature up so you'll get a couple of hours of good sleep, even if the temperatures drop below 0 degrees Celsius.
True to their name, these Norwegian hunters rely on their specialized training and instincts to excel in an environment which is often cruel and unforgiving.
With a car as special as the new Mazda 323, we don't need to shout. If you'd like to know more, please video this commercial.
I took a golden potato slice and... garlic! And gave this potato slice a crunchy garlic and herb edge. New bird's eye potato edges. Magnifique! Only potatoes with an edge past the bird's eye.
Are you putting money away for the future? When the time comes for your payout, how much can you look forward to? A cheque for £10,000? £15,000, or even as much as £20,000, guaranteed. Well now, depending on how much you put aside each month over a fixed 11-year term, you could expect this much money or more. To find out how, just ring 0800 201 201 now and ask about the cash escalator from Sun Alliance. Put aside from £15 to £150 a month, and you're guaranteed a cash lump sum in 11 years' time. No risks, no gambles. And on top of that, there are bonuses, your share of the profits from Sun Alliance's Life Fund. And with premiums increasing by 10% every year, your money grows even faster. So why not call 0800 201 201 now? We'll ask you a few simple questions, and then prepare a personal illustration, showing how much your cash payout could be. There's no obligation, and no salesman will call. With your illustration, we'll send your first free gift, this stylish pen. And when you start, this answer machine is also yours, free. Start with £25 a month or more, and you also qualify for a weekend break for 2. So call now on 0800 201 201 and ask about the cash escalator from Sun Alliance. Your call is free, and you're under no obligation at all.
Go!
Free-fall training is an important step in every Jäger's life. Here, each soldier hones his skill for 2 months on solid ground before heading toward the skies. The parachute allows a Jäger to make a clandestine entry, except for the noise of the delivery aircraft. To solve this problem, the Jägers use 2 different jump techniques, in which the aircraft is kept far from the jump zone. Both techniques depend on jumping from altitudes as high as 30,000 feet. The first is called halo, or high altitude low opening. The parachutist freefalls at a speed of 200 feet per second for over 2 minutes before opening his chute at a safe altitude. In other situations, the hey-ho, or high-altitude, high-opening system is used. In this technique, the Jäger uses a maneuverable parachute in which he can guide himself accurately to the drop zone. The commander of an amphibious task force planning to storm a beach relies on a Jäger recce team to find out what his men will encounter as they near the shore. Because this operation normally is performed at night, the Jägers count their kicks while swimming into shore as a measure of the distance in order to return to the pickup point. The team analyzes the ocean bottom, the surf, and any possible obstacles. In this case, the site is unacceptable for any type of large amphibious assault. Their information gathered, the Jägers swim back to the pickup point, where the men can be picked up quickly and efficiently without the enemy ever knowing that they were there.
In Norway, we have a very long coastline. If you go by plane over an area, it's quite easy to be detected by a radar, but it's more difficult going in from the sea.
Helicopters are ideal for Jäger missions. They are highly maneuverable and have the ability to fly under enemy radar. Once behind enemy lines, the Jäger's primary task is strategic and tactical reconnaissance, with the ability to conduct small group strikes. Working as a 5-man team, the Jägers must be a self-sufficient, independent force.
You normally spend the whole exercise together with 4 or 5 blokes. Certain parts of Norway you can walk for days and weeks without seeing anyone. So you're there more or less on your own.
Especially one exercise, we had been out for 1.5 weeks. And we were supposed to be picked up by a helicopter up in the mountains. And we stayed there and waited for the helicopters. And then we get a message on the radio that the helicopters wouldn't come. Then we had to go the same 15 kilometers back, and plus another 10 to get to a road to get a truck to pick us up. And that's some of the points when you have to trust on each other, because wet and cold conditions are one of the worst conditions you can have. And you really have to practice what you learned earlier on in survival course and so on.
We're looking for a man who's able to work as an individual, and at the same time he's very dependent on the group that he's in. They must be a very stable group because they're living very tight together, and they know a lot about each other, and they must live out whatever kind of bad things happen among them.
Each member of the team is trained and cross-trained in a different speciality. Navigation is a vital part of a team's ability to maneuver through foreign territory. Each Jäger unit has a medical specialist. He undergoes 25 weeks of training to prepare himself for the challenges he'll face in the field.
Og puls. Pusta.
Surveillance specialists are the eyes and ears of every Jäger team. Living in a hole in the ground for weeks at a time, these specially trained commandos monitor enemy activity in a specific area without detection. Jägers are specially trained in vehicle recognition. They spend 4 weeks learning to identify various military vehicles. anything that could be a potential threat to Norway. While in the field, critical intelligence information is turned over to the communication expert, who signals it back to higher headquarters, where it's analyzed with other data. Possibly the most dangerous job in the team belongs to the demolition specialist. While setting the charges, he must pay close attention to every detail, as the slightest mistake could be fatal. Using C4 explosives with petrol, this Jaeger sets up a configuration used in destroying a vehicle depot. With its task accomplished, the Jaeger team gets out and goes home. But new tests lie ahead. The entire Norwegian army is trained in mountain and Arctic warfare. Fully mobilized, Norway could field an army of up to 250,000 people. Each reservist keeps his uniform and weapon at home, a lesson learned from the German occupation during World War II. The Jägers today will fight to ensure that Norway is never again occupied by a foreign army.
They are really making sure that never again will be a reality. And any forces that are very special, that train very hard with the aim of carrying out, let's say, the message and the task of those who really was important to us during the war, the people of the military resistance, and those who took part in the special forces, Norwegian special forces, that operated from England against the German forces in Norway. They are taking over from them.
Today's strategic military concerns lie in the possibility of low-intensity conflict and terrorist attacks. With their rigorous and extensive training, no group is better prepared to handle such events than the Jägers. For these young men, there is no higher honor than to wear the red beret.
Well, it's something they've been looking forward to most of their life, for some there, that is. Others, well, as we go around promoting the service here, they just jump for it, and then they eventually get in here. But everyone is very proud, especially after the selection weeks. And after the free full course, everyone feels like some hero. He's managed to do something that he thought he perhaps couldn't do. So they're a very proud unit.
I can see these young people change in the course of this year. I think one of the reasons for this change is that they feel that they have accomplished something. They have really striven to accomplish a goal, to become a Jäger. And after having gone through very hard and rough physical and psychological tests, they have a very good feeling inside. And I really think I can see growing self-confidence during that year. And looking back when they started here, and after 1 year when they leave Herrens Jägerskole, they are totally different persons in many respects.
The time I've been a Jäger, I've done a lot of things, and it makes you feel kind of special. Makes you feel a sort of friendship with other special units over the world, and especially with the guys in the unit. You get a very good relationship.
I think that most of the guys, for them it's the personal aspect that feeling by yourself that you are good enough, that you are able to do such a service.